Hello, I'm torstein. Welcome to Skyber Hacks. Merry Christmas, everyone. This Christmas, I thought I would rewrite my Emacs configuration. I've used this for. This file has been maintained now for 20 years, and it's grown rather large. If we have a look here, you can say, if I do Control XL, you can see it's 1,616 lines of code, and in addition to that, I have a few external files. But I moved most of it and kept most of it inside of .emacs. I used to have multiple files, now it's inside Emacs again. So I have more than 1,600 lines of configuration code, and I wanted to see if I needed all of that. And the best way to figure that one out was to start with a clean .emacs or .init and work off from that. And then I've added from my old file into my new file, and only keeping what I really need. So I thought it would be interesting to go through that and what I in 2022 still need, because a lot of things that I've added in .emacs, well, they come for free now by default in Emacs, and other packages that I thought were great and I had to have, I don't use them anymore. So this is a run through of my experience with this setup. I've been running with it for 3-4 days now, and it's fairly complete. I have everything I need for at least Java XML or again some other things that I'm doing, so it's pretty good for me. Alright, so here is my old .emacs, 1,600 lines. It's been in Git since 2011, but I started out in 98, 99, having it in Subversion. No, CVS. That was what I was starting out with. Well, anyway, so let's see what I've condensed this down to. That's 469 lines, so that's 1,200 lines that I don't need anymore. That so far I don't believe I need it anymore. So I'll go through that and hope you'll find it interesting. So the first thing I did was to reorganize everything. So, I tried to keep my file reasonably tidy, but things move all over the place and they're interdependency, so it's not that easy. You try to configure perhaps XML in one place, and then you realize later, well, this HTML thing that also uses some XML features, so do you make then HTML and XML section, and then you have SGML and you have web XML and all of that. So, and then you have things that are maybe text only, but then it's more programming mode specific, and so on. And anyway, so I had a hard look at all the different sections that I had, and I shuffled things around. And I also did add some section markers, so it's easier for me to keep the overview. And I really like to keep everything in one file. I used to have the approach that I have one file for Java specific, one for web XML specific, but then I found that there were interdependencies, and jumping back and forth between the files, in the end it just confused me more than it helped me organize my code. So I'm all with one file for everything, and but I still want some more reviews. So what I did was I had this here, this occur that's built in Emacs, and then I say everything that starts with a double comment and then a number, one or more, that's the plus, list that. So if I execute that, I get a nice table of contents of my .emacs, and this is more than good enough for me, and it gives me a nice overview. So I have the following sections. I have the package management, name and email, appearance, global shortcuts, searching, reading and writing files, and so on. And so I try to have the most generic, that's global, for everything at the top, and then it becomes more and more specific at the bottom, and then of course there are language specifics, the last couple of modes. So everything from 70, 80, 82 are language specific things. So here it's as a problem with the TLS version using on the servers and the built-in Emacs, I didn't try without this line, to be honest, but I added it not that many years ago, so I have that for that. then I added ensure that all the repositories that I install packages from are loaded. Oh, and there, then that goes once again. Okay, then I can remove that one. Oh well, and then I have the case where use package isn't installed. With Emacs 29, it will be installed by default. But since I'm running Emacs 28, I have this stanza here, which installs use package if it's not there already, and then it says ensure always always install the packages. So this means if I don't have use package, that normally means I'm on a fresh computer and I haven't run Emacs before. So therefore, I wanted to download things. But apart from that, I don't want that always ensure to be enabled, because it means Emacs will start slower. So I find this here is a neat trick to bootstrap new computers. So essentially this here will only run on fresh computers. And then I put all the custom EL in its own file because I find it messes up my .emacs. And then of course mail and address, that's useful. And then we're down to appearance. I like to turn off the menu bar. It's good for discovering things naturally. It's great. It has a visual component here, but I don't use it. The fringes I turned off as well, and I started out with a red block cursor, and I just have to continue to have that. And the scroll bars also don't need it. I have the percentage indicator down here, and that's more than enough for me. Same for toolbars. And then very important is that font. I really like the Adobe Source Code Pro font. This is what is set here, and then of course test for if there's a graphical system. And then I like the suite theme. And that's everything that has to do with appearance. Then on to global shortcuts. Previous and next buffer. So that will take me to the previous and next buffers that I had open. So if you imagine that you have an editor like Visual Studio Code where you have tabs, and this would then cycle through the tabs. But of course with Emacs you will have hundreds and hundreds of files open, and this will just cycle through them. It works quite well with the meta NNPay, but there are a couple of modes where these shortcuts have been assigned to other things, and then all of a sudden your browsing flow completely stops. But yeah, here it stopped really quickly. I was in VC changelog, and then that's mapped to something else. But oh well, it's still nice enough. So I kept that, or I've added it to my fresh.emacs file. This shortcut here is something I definitely cannot live without. So this is to navigate between the buffers I have open. So here I have two buffers. There's a separate frame window here on the right hand side. But to move over to the occurs buffer, the 17 matches listing, I do Control X P and then Control X P to go back, and then to go forth. This is something I definitely can't live without. So that's something I added really early on. F5 for revert buffer. I find that's a nice mnemonic, refresh F5 for refresh, and that's revert buffer. I also like the alter revert mode. That's basically what most modern editors have these days, I believe, that if something changes in the file system, just load that change in the editor. Everything is in Git anyway, so I can do git diff to see if anything has changed and keep track of it that way. And then I have a couple of exceptions, pings and SVJs. Now this here is the funny one. This one has been with me from the very start. Hip expand, and if in case you haven't noticed, you do spacebar, and then I do J, and I have then Alt space for me, and it auto completes the full thing. And then if I do it again, it will cycle through all of them. Super duper useful. I can't live without it. Join line is same. So if I want to join this line with the previous one, I do that. That's also something I can't live without. And then Control Z, that's bound to minimize Emacs and never minimize Emacs. I don't know why I want that, so therefore I bind that to compile. And the same with Control-X-C, and then I quit Emacs. And then instead of typing yes whenever Emacs asks me something, I want to just type Y. And Control-X, Control-C is also compile. Then I have cancel. That's something that I definitely want. It gives me several things. Like it gives me like iMenu. I can do control dot, and I have a nice completion list of the functions in the current buffer, and this works across all files, and it's independent of LSP or anything fancy like that. It's just more bare bones, faster, always available. Yeah, also another one which is very nice as Control O. That's something I use in order mode all the time to move between the different headings. Let's say if I do food order, now 1, now 2. If I do Control O, I can jump between them. That's something I have to have. Alright, and then subword mode in the mini buffer. So if I'm down here and I write Java or C++, I think that has the same convention, I can jump between the subwords. That's super useful. Find file at point, the same thing. If you write documentation like hello, look, and etc hosts, I can hit that shortcut and then jump to that file directly. Then it's search. I use Finder and grepfind all the time to search in libraries, and for that to work well in big repositories with a lot of files that I don't want them to search, I have these two ignore lists, and I definitely want that. So with that I can search for this variable in this repository. I do that with like that. And as you can see, I need to exclude some more files. I get hits in these binary files as well. Oh well. Yeah. Rename the file. That's something I'm quite amazed is not in Emacs, and I hope I will get yelled at now that indeed it is in Emacs. So what this function here does, and I've copied this from somewhere, is that it renames the buffer and the underlying file, and it does the version control thing. So if you are in Git, it will git remove, git add on the file, or git move probably on the specified file. Something I bound to Control-X R for rename. Have to have it. Then it's this whitespace exploit thing protection, tab with 2, and then whitespace butler. It sorts out your whitespace problems, like deleting trail of whitespace and stuff, on the lines that you have edited, so you don't affect the entire file that your colleague who quit the job 10 years ago made. You will not touch all those files, so that means you will keep your diff small, but you will still keep committing tidy code. Then I have a function to indent and fix the white space for the cases where I download, say, XML and everything is in one line. I can just hit the shortcut here, and then everything is tidied up. So reverse foo XML. I got one, I like that, and I have some more like that, and I can do. No, I cannot. I don't know why I can't do that. Oh, that only deletes the trail. Okay, so that was another shortcut, and I haven't moved that, so okay. I would need to move that shortcut, so that's to tidy up XML. I haven't tidied that. So this here is only for indent and fix white space. Yeah, I can see that now. Okay. UTF-8 goes without saying, I want spell checking whenever I write to commit messages. In Magit, I want it to be a bit nicer in the log arguments. So my log looks like this. The git gutter gives me markings in the margin when I've changed things. Let's see if I can git gutter mode. No. Git gutter mode. Yeah, there you can see I get a marker like that. It's pretty neat. So text buffers, yeah, spell checking. So I definitely had to have all of that. So let's see how far we come now. So now we are already at the program buffers. It's this one here I like. So by default in my Emacs 28, I get indication of what the parent parentheses is, or the corresponding parentheses like that. But it doesn't highlight the body of that block of code, and I would like it to highlight it a bit more. So for this one, and this one, I get bold marking. So you can say when it selects the whole thing gets marked and it's bold, so it stands out. Makes it really easy. And this works across all modes that I use, and it's fast. Some settings for compilation mode. Ask about save. I always want to save it anyway, so don't bother about it. And I also want to always kill it. So if I have something running in my compilation mode, sometimes I start a server and I'm developing on that server, say a Java server, and when I rerun compile, I want to just kill whatever is running there and start again. And this speeds up my workflow with, it depends on how fast it is to shut down, but in any case it speeds it up in a couple of seconds. And if there are some hanging threads and stuff, maybe we'll just cut them straight off. So I can may even shave off 5 more seconds. So for given, for my typical workflow, that would save me 7 seconds for each run. Yeah, this here is to get nice colors when you run commands. Like if you run Maven, let's see if I have a small Maven project here, and I would run Maven install. Then the Maven build tool will output escapes, and that would then normally give you funny output, and this fixes it. Then it was a really helpful guy that helped me write this function, which is to add the time it took to run the compilation. So here you can see it says compilation took 1 second, 1.9 seconds, and again that's something I wish was there by default, but of course Emacs makes it easy to add it if you know how to code that language. Then we're down to LSP and dependent packages, and the way I did this time around was that I started out with a quick start guide over at Emacs, LSP and GitHub, and then I copy that block that they have for the quick start, and then I added the stuff that I need, and I find that makes it easier to debug if something isn't working. Before I had a flight check, I would have that a different place, or company, I would have that with the completion frameworks, the other settings I have for that, and now I try to keep it together, everything that's needed to get LSP to work, because LSP is such an important package for me. So yeah, the organization works fairly well. So I try to keep it as clean as possible, and also to make it load faster, because I had a couple of settings which downloaded Java sources for third-party libraries, and that might make the LSP server stall for a bit. I don't know. I skipped most of my old LSP configuration. I only disable file watchers to keep it fast. We have Java projects with 16-20 years of Java code, and there's a lot of directories to watch, so I don't want Emacs to do that. or LSP server to do that. And the breadcrumb, this one here, that gives you a breadcrumb visual, and I don't find that very useful really. Some people like it, I'm sure, but it's not for me. And then there's some performance tweaks that's listed on GitHub. Hydra, so that gives you one letter shortcuts for things. I still haven't figured that one out. I haven't spent any time on figuring it out either, but I don't understand. Then company emoji, that's great. So you can write like, eyes. Well, if you enable that. I've never done this in Lisp mode, company mode, maybe. And then you can do like, no, why doesn't that work? Oh well. Come on. No. Okay. Normally that would work. Obviously I need some more settings. So still doesn't work. How about foo.md? Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, I need some more settings then, apparently. But yeah, so that gives me emojis like that. And then for the Java settings, this is a must. I use Lombok a lot, which is a annotation. Then you need annotation processing, and for that to work, you need this Java agent. And I don't want LSP to organize my imports every time I save the file. Thank you very much. And I don't want you to format the source code either, but because I do that at build time with a Maven plugin. So we have predefined coding style in the company, and we apply that at build time. That's what I want to happen. So here's the debugger. I extend that with one profile, which is to attach to an external process listening on 5500, which is a default port in IntelliJ IDEA as well. So I can use the same settings here, which is essentially what I use when I debug a remote Tomcat server or a drop wizard or anything. And then I kept the default settings, like using Helm. I haven't used Helm in years, but it's pretty good. And then Emacs. And then I have my good old Java settings, like the C basic offset, label offset settings, and there you can see my compilation command. And in there I have the actual stuff that figures out what I've touched lately, and it builds the different projects or modules I've touched, deploys it in a local Tomcat, or if it's just a drop wizard, or if it's in a LXD container, or if it's a VM, whatever. I do all that in shell script, and I keep the Emacs configuration consistent to just spin tc torstein compile. Then some style. Yeah, that's it. This guy here has been with me from the very beginning. Feel attached to it. Then batch settings, use LSP for that as well. Yeah, the snippet engine. So that means when I do, let's see, if I do PR and I hit tab, I get printf with a variable. And you can see the LSP integration is working, so it will show me documentation here, and it will show me errors as well. If I do something like that, it will tell me you haven't declared this, you need to double quote it, and so on. In XML I just kept one setting for now. Let's see how I go with it. But so this here is if you write slash. So when I type the slash here, it completes the tag, the element. I find that very neat. Yeah, YAML mode, and then org. That's the last big thing. Org file of the day. I'll cover this in another talk. I have a shortcut to jump to. I'd like to have one file per day, and then I keep adding that to Git, syncing them to Git every 5 minutes. And then I also downloaded my Outlook calendar and my Gmail calendar, so it's all included in the agenda overview. Yeah, I also have a funny function here, which is useful to me. I don't know how many other people, but what it does is if I have a Jira issue like that, and I hit that Jira key, I get in my click bar, I can do yank now, and I can get the full URL to that one. And it works great for me. It solves the problem for me because I often want that when I want to write something for my boss. But yeah. This here is another really neat trick in Emacs that I didn't know about until last year or this year, which is you can configure it also by in each directory. You can have different settings if you like, but the point here is that when you have let's say foo.org and you say foo123, it's automatically linked. And if you look at the file itself, it's just like that. There is no actual link inserted, but when you click with the mouse, or you do Control-C enter, you go to that website. So this here's my company Jira, and it will go to that. And I want that in org mode. And then this is my workflow. The to-do started waiting, pull request, PR, and then it can become merged, done, cancel, or delegated. Those workflow states works really well for me, and that's why I have it in my .emacs file, and it applies to all my .org files. So here are this shortcut here is really valuable. This is Control-CL that takes me to today's org file. And I like org bullets to make the bullets different. I prefer this fat fat greater than sign, whatever it's called, described. Heavy right pointing angle quotation mark. Okay, this one. And that's it. So that's 467 lines instead of 1,600 lines. And if I can diff it. I'll merge it soon enough, but you can mark the whole thing in Magit and hit day, and then does diff between that point in time and then to that commit. And as you can see, there's a lot of things that have been removed. And yeah, that's what I wanted to show you guys. I hope you are doing well, and I will see you next year. Take care of yourselves, and Happy New Year.